Hi, I'm Linda Deir, and this is...
And I'm Ray Holly.
And we're here with you guys today. Thursday is our day with you guys that have either read guided and have questions about this book, which is my flagship book, available on Amazon. And those of you who have read guided would definitely be familiar with my latest book, which is My Guided Journey. It's the companion journal to Guided, as a result of the many thousands of fans who have emailed me, contacted me on social media, in coaching sessions, have asked me how this works in their life. So that's why this was written, and that's what we're going to be covering today, along with anybody who has questions about Guided, who have read it or listened to it. All right. So today, what we're going to be talking about is Part 2, Page 3, Friends. And your friends that we're talking about here are your spirit guides and angels. They're the friends that didn't come along for this lifetime. You elected to do that, and they elected to guide you throughout your life, so you would not get lost. And if you did, it was your choice to do that, and it's your free will. So if you make a choice to do that, your guides, they're on standby. They wait for you to work through that, and trust that you'll learn what you need to learn from it, so you guys can get back on track and get around to living that life you intended, you know? So, friends, Ray is going to ask some questions around that. And Ray, when people have questions...
Just type your questions into the stream, and I will be able to see them.
And as soon as we see questions pop up, Ray's going to be talking with me, and then he's going to keep his eye on the feed. He sees one of your questions or a comment or whatever. We will bring that into this session, and we will discuss that with you, okay? So don't be shy. You guys are in good hands, right?
Okay, so we're talking about friends. Now, these are friends, and about what age are we at now in the journal? We're past the baby stage.
Yeah, the first 2 pages, the first one was fear, and that's when you're just a baby. You could be any age, actually. I mean, anytime between 9 months and a year and a half to 2 years old, okay? Asking, that comes almost around the time you wrap that up, and you bump into asking. You just start asking whoever these friends are. You just start asking questions, and it feels kind of like you're talking to yourself, all right? But it's such a natural thing for you to do when you first come in from the other side, and you're a new person here in this world, okay? So natural that it feels like it's coming from you, but you don't question it. You don't try to outthink things, because it's how it used to be before you got here. It's the way it was when you were with your guides, okay, all the time. So asking was natural. If you needed to know something, you would telepathically think that thought and get that answer, okay? And now we're on friends. And friends are your friends, your spirit guides and angels. They are your real friends. They are actually your real family too. The family you have in this life is a family that you chose to, that you selected, and I did, and you chose them to learn the things that would most likely move you through it the quickest, that would give you that information and give you the best odds for making sense of that and giving you the tools from that to live the life you intended. So it's all part of the yellow brick road. It's connecting the dots. It's a process. It's a continuum. So you had this all figured out before you came into this life. With the help of your guides, you guys master planned this life, and you brought that with you, just knowing you could do this once you got here, okay? And then you got here. All right, so go ahead.
So you could say where we are on page 3 here, you're at the 2.5 to maybe 4-year-old type stage.
Perfect. That's right.
Just so I know. Okay, so you bring these friends with you. They're your family from where you came.
Right.
Okay, so what was it like with these friends from where you came from before you got here?
Okay, so what was it like
For you,
for me in this life
right?
after I
no,
got
before
here?
you got here.
Oh, what was it like before I got here?
What were these friends like?
Okay, there was no difference. Okay, when you're little, when you are, and you guys have these journals, okay? When you are a new person that comes into this world, and then you become a little bit more acclimated to this world. You're maybe, you know, a year and a half old, 2 years old here. And then here you're about 3 years old. This little girl, 3 to 4 years old right in there. When you first get here, this is you. You're the same person, the same energy, the same identity, personality that you were before you came here. Okay, this is the real you. What happens is we get here and we come into this life and, oh, we could do anything once we get here. We all feel that. You may have forgotten you felt that, but you did. And then all of a sudden this life just shocks you, and it sometimes scares you, and you just lose you lose the reason you came here. You forgot who your real friends were, your real family, those who stayed behind. You forgot all that, okay, because this just overwhelmed you. These friends, right, the friends that you came in with, the friends who stayed behind, they're here with you. They're guiding you. They're always available to you.
Okay, so right around 2.5 to 4, you started to get an interest in these friends who seemed invisible to other people.
And even to you. You didn't need to see them. You knew who they were, okay?
These invisible friends, as adults would refer to them.
It felt so natural to you that it felt like you, okay? That's why you don't remember them, because you guys weren't separate from each other, okay? That didn't happen until you get a little bit more into this world. Did you feel that separation? So go ahead, Ray.
Okay, so was there some kind of a root language that you used to communicate with them? Was it like the same as you communicated with them before you got here?
Okay, is that before I got here or after?
Was it the same way? Did you communicate with them the same way?
Okay. Yes and no. In my case, I actually have this amazing early experience. Do we have an internet connection going down, Ray? Is it okay?
Trying to read with that.
Okay. In my book Guided, I talk about it in chapter 1 and 2, where I first met them, first contact and second contact. That I first had an encounter where I physically met them in chapter 2. And I was 20 months old when that happened. So what was your question again? That threw me off.
So what was the root language that you communicated with them before you got here and after you got here?
And so the way that communication happened in the very beginning is I would get these signals, these inspirations. I would get this knowingness where I came from. I just knew it. My truth center, right? Our truth centers. And I knew it. So in that case, it was pre-telepathy, all right? And you might want to even call it intuition. It was your knowingness that you just knew something else was going on. And then once I got here, that it was telepathy before I got here. Then it was that knowingness, that hint, that hunch, that gut feeling, that just you knew. And then when I had that encounter at 20 months old, when they saved my life, when they showed up physically all around me, just like this photograph I took in 1994 of them at Christmas time when they appeared. And when they appeared to me, I was absolutely, it was an instant knowingness. I knew who they were. I remembered them. I remembered me. It was a whole thing, okay? So at that point, that's when my mom almost killed me, is when they appeared, all right? And I knew then I wasn't alone. And I knew who my real family was at that point. After I had that connection, I started out in the sandbox. I started talking to them. Talking to my friends, right? To my invisible friends, to anybody who was observing it. But nobody was, because I made sure no one was around when I had this really intimate time with my guides. And I would just talk out loud because I was under a lot of stress in that abusive childhood environment, all right? So I had a lot to say. I was upset, I was hurt, I was going through a lot of trauma, and I talked out loud. And then I realized that I didn't need to talk out loud. I would just be playing, and I'd be wondering something, and I'd get the answer. And I'd be wondering something, and I'd get the answer. And it was like we were on a roll, me and the guides, and the bond was getting stronger. So I came from telepathy with the guides. I got here, and it was gut feelings, hunches. I knew things, okay? And then I talked out loud to them because I was really so grateful that they were with me, that I had someone on my side in this life. And they really couldn't shut me up. So I was just talking to them all the time. And then even I got tired of hearing that. And I just started constantly like this. And I could be at the dinner table in the family home, and I would be just like this with my guides. And I wouldn't even hear what they were talking about at the table. It was just a constant telepathic communication. Now, by the way, this is their choice of communication between each other, where they still are, okay? They decided not to come here into this life like I did. So that's still their primary form of communication. So they will always prefer to communicate with you telepathically, but the way that they start when you're first starting to connect with this, they'll usually start to connect with you in your dreams. And the reason they start there is because they don't want to scare you. You'll have dreams like, my life, chapter 1, started out with a life destiny dream. So I came into this life, and wham, they were right there. There was just no disconnection between me and where I came from and what my mission was in this lifetime. That's what Guided talks about.
So you knew they were around. You felt that they were around. You knew they were around long before 20 months old.
Yep.
Before they showed themselves, okay? And you knew that because of the dream.
That's what started it.
For those who maybe haven't read Guided, could you give them a little bit about the dream?
Okay, I'll give you a few hot points on this dream.
Good. So.
Okay, so let me get there. You wanted me to refer to this?
Yeah, long before they showed up.
Yeah.
When you were the ripe old age of 20 months, and they appeared all around you. Yeah. More than a dozen of them. You knew they were around. You felt that they were around. Were you sure of who they were at that point?
I really wasn't sure. I just knew that something was going on.
Somebody was there.
And, well, that I didn't know how I'll try to explain it here. Okay, so on chapter 1 in Guided is called Raised by Spirit Guides, part 1. And chapter 1, First Contact, is the merry-go-round dream. And I talk about the dream, but I'll skip that part. I'll just kind of jump to where I realized some things, okay? From what I experienced in that dream, I realized several things. Many, or maybe most people, were naturally fear-based. That's what the dream showed me. They didn't want things to change and speed up. And that's exactly what's going on right now in the world. We're at that pivotal point right now where this dream I had 65 years ago is beginning to come in. It's here, okay, what happened in that dream. I was haunted with the challenge of finding a way to reach them. I became aware that was my job. That's what came through that dream. And I'm not going to read the dream, it's only about 2 pages, but it's a powerful dream. And I had that same dream for the first 35 years of my life, and it never changed.
And you have it every night.
And I had it every night, and multiple times, sometimes per night. So it was like something that would, it was relentless. And then at 35 years old, I started taking dream classes at night, which was way out of whack I was in a professional business and everything. And I started taking dream classes, completely changed my life, it put me back in touch with this and why I came here, all right? So at 35 years old, I'm beginning to get around to my purpose. That dream shocked me into remembering what I knew before I got here and why I was here. I remembered the exciting feeling about how I could do anything once I got here. That's the new person, the baby coming in. That's what was the urge that brought me into this life. I couldn't wait to come here and do what I intended, right? That's what it feels like before you get here. It's like an urge we cannot resist, and there it is. This urge is so powerful that we are blinded by the reality of actually being here. And that is an understatement in my life, I tell you. And this is how it really is before we get here, before we are assigned our amnesia and forget. But I remembered, and remembering is what made me different right from the start. But remembering also put me at risk. Because those who didn't remember would think I was crazy or a threat or something else that might hurt them, okay? I mean, we're talking about a baby here, okay? But people were, I was very aware from my guides that I needed to keep this to myself, and I did. In fact, I didn't write guided, didn't start writing it until I was 60, and it was published when I was 62. That's the first time I ever told my story. So
that was 60 years after you first saw them in this life.
Right.
So Mike, I just did some quick calculations here. So you had this same dream, this life purpose dream, what you were supposed to do with your life. That's what they were telling you.
That was I was sent in here to do this.
All right.
Yeah.
So you had the same dream every night from your first memory as a baby. So most nights, multiple times a night. You couldn't stop it.
Right.
Until you were 35.
Yep.
So that is somewhere between 25 and 30,000 times that you had the same dream.
Right. Do you think they were trying to get through to me?
That must have been an important message. And it never changed. Never changed.
It never changed, not at all. I tried everything to change, even tweak it a little bit, because I didn't want that one part to be that way, but it was the way it was. That's what I signed up for. Roll up your sleeves and let's get this done, Linda. That's what the guides are all about.
Okay, so clear me up here. How can a baby learn or know all about this and know that they shouldn't talk about it?
I don't know. I just knew. I could feel. I was living in a really hostile family. My family was dysfunctional, hot-headed. They were really easy to upset the apple cart, so to speak. And I just learned to be observant. That's really what I learned from all that stress and pressure that was on me. I just learned to sit back and observe and just be quiet and just observe. That's what it was my only way to handle the situation, which is what the guides and what I intended before I came here from the other life. That my beginning curriculum was to know who I was and observe what was going on around me. Pay attention.
That leads right to my next question. So did you realize at that age, from the first time you knew that somebody was there, and then you saw them at 20 months old, and then the next year and a half or so?
That one, what Ray's talking about, that's when they literally appeared. Okay, right here. And this is the photograph I took in 1994 at Christmas time. And it became the front cover of my book 20 years later, right?
Okay, so did you realize that those around you, the family you were born into, not your soul family, that not only didn't they know about your friends, but they had no idea that they had any of their own.
Right. Right.
Okay.
It made this world feel dangerous to me, knowing that they didn't know. Because what I really realized after working with so many people that want to make this connection, that understand at least the concept of spirit guides, angels, and others who are there, that are guiding us, that are helping us, that sometimes are specialists that come in at just the right time to get us through something, okay, or help us figure something out. This guidance is always here, you guys. When I realized that my family didn't know it, first of all, I thought to myself, but how could they not know it? And then I worried about, they were extra dangerous because they didn't know it. They felt like this world was all they had. This was it. Now, if I thought that this world was all I had, and I didn't remember where I came from and who's behind me the whole time and guiding me and helping me and at just the right time, okay, and they weren't on right there with me, and I didn't know that, and I just lived in this world, you guys, I can't imagine what that felt like. But I'll tell you what I always did know. I knew that this is why this world is dangerous. I knew that. I knew that before I was 1 year old. I knew that.
So you're developing this bond with your friends who, at 20 months old, you saw them physically appear and they felt familiar and like you knew them from somewhere. You still hadn't made the connection yet because of the amnesia you have when you come here, but they looked familiar. So it's natural to have these friends for all children, right?
Oh, everyone comes in with it, yeah.
Okay. And you have them till about what time? Till your family starts to disrupt your life and tell you that there is no such thing as invisible friends and don't talk about them, or you seem like you're crazy if you say, well, where's your friends? Well, they're right over there.
What they want you to do is snap out of it.
Yeah.
They want you to wake up, okay? And that's what they want you to acclimate to this world so you can make it in this world. Really, I mean, imagine, they forgot that they ever had any help like this. So they really do believe this is all there is. So they're extra concerned about you. They should be. I mean, if they really believe this is all there is, and they do, that's what they really believe, they're going to do a lot of things that are excessive on your behalf, okay? Because they're so concerned, all right? That's another flaw in this whole concept. Once you know that you are not alone, that you are always being guided, once you realize that, and you work with it in your life, and now you're not broken, now you are one, okay? This world is no longer the threat it used to be. And that's what your parents felt. So to really lean their way and appreciate where they were coming from, that's really why they reacted the way they did, when they really didn't need to.
What kind of help can you expect to get from these friends that stayed behind? I mean, when you come here, you're limited because you have dumbed down your energy and squeezed not all of your energy, but a small part of it into this little body,
yeah.
And they haven't. They're still...
You mean your guides?
Your guides are
right.
still just as
in
powerful.
Their full
right.
capacity.
Right. So, what can you expect? What kind of guidance can you expect at that age to get from them?
Oh, what kind of guidance wouldn't you expect? I mean, you don't expect anything. When you're a little kid, first of all, you're not expecting anything. And you don't see yourself as separate from where you came from yet. That's why it kind of feels like it's all you, that this is all coming from, and this guidance and this instantaneous knowing and excitement about something and all the things that you just do. You don't think about any of it.
They're not going to give you anything that's over the head of a child. I mean, over the knowingness capacity.
No, they're so confident.
Right. They're going to tailor their guidance and their love to a growing young child.
Well, not just that. That's a generality. This is much more specific. They know you. They know you. Only one of you, okay? And they've been with you forever. So they know exactly what you need to know at any given time. And they set it up like an event right in front of you. And like a little kid will look at it and wonder about it and think about it and decide to act on it or not.
So that's how a child applies it.
That's right.
Okay. So they never give you anything you can't handle at that age.
Their timing is perfect.
And a child applies it through curiosity.
Connects with it through curiosity.
Okay.
That's their electrical wire to the guides, is their curiosity. That's what sparks them.
All right. We got a question here, or a comment. Patty says she has issues with her dreams. She always forgets her dreams.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a few pointers on that, Patty, okay? You at least know you're having them. You didn't say you don't have them, because some people say that, and that's like they really don't think they even have them. Everyone dreams. You just aren't remembering them. So something's going on in your life that you're working too much, you're under a lot of stress, or something is not giving you that little breather you need to connect with that dream, okay? Another thing that's going on, and this is true for most people, is you don't have anybody to talk to about with your dreams. You don't have any way to validate what's going on with you through exploring that dream. So you need to do two things. First, you need to get this journal off my website, lindadeir.com. It's free. It's my latest book, and it's a free download, My Guided Journey. So get this off the website because you're going to need it. And we're working on part 2, page 3 today, friends. But at the very end of this, part 3 of the journal is all where you do all your journaling. It's where you write in there what happened that day, those insights, that gut feeling, that dream you had. You write it in your journal to the best that you can. But just so you can remember the dream, to start out with that, you wake up in the morning, and if you lay there for a minute and you don't think you remembered the dream, take a breath and go back into that slumber. You're not going to go off to sleep, but you're going to go back into that position that you woke up in, the same position, on this side or over on this side, on your back, on your stomach. Go back into that same position. That's where you're going to bring it through. And give yourself about 5 to 10 minutes just to let yourself be in that limbo, that magical place you spent the night, okay, that you really were over here, where you came from. That's where you go. And you will either remember the dream, or the first thing that comes to mind when you do that exercise will be the message that the dream sent you, okay? Write that into part 3 of the journaling part so you don't lose it. But here's how you're not going to lose it when you get out of bed, all right? So you don't feel like that it's going to happen to you. As soon as you remember what it is, say it out loud 3 times. Say it 3 times. And then get out of bed and write it down. That way you won't forget it the minute your foot hits the floor. Because what happens when your foot hits the floor, it grounds you out. And you're, boom, right back into this life. And you lose it. So you just need to work with remembering your dreams, remembering what happened that night. And it doesn't have to be the actual dream. It could be the residue from the dream just before you get up. But give yourself a chance to grab it, say it, and write it into your journal.
Well, aren't you really more awake and alive in your dreams than you are in this world?
you are, but that's a concept that's hard for people to connect with, Ray, until they actually work through that. Okay,
Until they get involved with, say, lucid dreams and.
Yeah, like you. Ray remembers his dreams every morning, all right? I mean, I remember my dreams, but not even as well as Ray does. Ray's amazing. He remembers his dreams. And we explore those dreams each morning. And he knows that every single dream he has has a meaning. It's important for him to know something, all right?
They all have a message.
They really do.
And it's not always what you think. I mean, you helped me out a lot telling me, well, that didn't mean that. It meant this.
Right. And then, we'll bring the guides through, and they'll tell Ray what they see and what they were with him that night, so they know what it was. All right. So it's a lot of fun, and it's fascinating. Okay. It's what's really going on in our lives. It's what's really under the hood. As you pick up, the hood of the car, and you look underneath and see the engine. There it is. Yeah. So
Yep.
try that, Patty.
Okay, now getting back to 2.5 to say 4, before you go into your preschool, before you get into school. One of the consequences of this learning at a higher level, like you did, you knew that you came from this family. They stayed behind. You came here. You felt their presence of something. Once you got here, you had the dream 30,000 times, and then they all appeared before you were 2. So now you knew who you were talking to.
I had a strong connection at that
who
point.
you were talking to.
Yep.
So now the next 2 years, before you get into kindergarten and first grade, I mean, what are the consequences of you learning at that higher level? Because you never told anybody. You kept everything to yourself.
I didn't tell anybody, but what would happen is, as a little kid, you're not real aware of watching your back in this world. Not yet, all right? So for me, I was still kind of, bumbling along as this new person that came in from the other side with this amazing, curiosity I had. And my mom would see me do things, and she would just go, oh, whoa, okay? And I remember her doing that a few times, and I thought maybe, I don't know why I thought this, because my mom, she would go off at times when you didn't even see it coming. She would actually just be stopped in her tracks watching me. And I know that she caught me being myself. And I knew that was dangerous. Okay, I knew. I just knew. And when she saw this, she spent some time thinking about it. She couldn't figure out what that was, but she knew something was there in me. And she did, because she worked against me so much and it never stopped. She actually at one point tried to get my dad to get rid of me. To just say that something was weird about me. And that's when my dad finally put his foot down and said, no, stop talking like this. That will never happen. And,
So by the time you were 3 or 4, getting ready to go into like kindergarten, and your mom wanted to get rid of you,
right.
How did they give you some monikers or some, what did they say about you that you were so different?
You mean my family?
Yes.
They didn't confront me because I was so small. They didn't think I could connect with it, I guess. They didn't think I had any authority. Like, I was just a little kid. And I don't know, they just didn't make the connection. They didn't validate me, right? But that was true my whole life.
What'd they call you? I mean, by the time you got to school, you realized how different you were.
No, I didn't.
Really?
No, I didn't.
You realized how different you were from the other kids.
I didn't know I was really different until I went to school.
Right.
And then I thought, not only am I different, but, I just don't fit. I thought maybe I just didn't fit in that family. And then when I started school, I thought, yeah, this could be a good thing. And then I realized I didn't fit at all, because here's what Ray's leading toward here. when you have this connection like what I have with my guides throughout my life, it looks like a great thing. People have said to me, they go, Linda, you have it all figured out. You never had to suffer. You always had your guides. You didn't have to go through the stuff I did. You don't understand. I mean, how can I answer that? I was ridiculed. I didn't have any friends. My family all worked against me. I didn't have anybody to go to. I didn't have any resources. I really had to figure this out on my own. But I didn't. I didn't have to figure this out on my own. I had my friends with me. I had my guides with me. And they were always right there. When I needed to know something and I would explore something that they put in front of me and I would run with that. I mean, I had everything. I had so much more than people had because I had this. But like Race was referring to and kind of going toward is the cost. The price I paid was when I went to school, my family called me stupid and ugly and that I didn't get it. And the kids said the same thing and so did the teachers.
And they called you an oddball.
And an oddball, right. So those were the labels that they put on me because they didn't understand me. And it's not like I stood out real loud. I didn't. I learned to sit back and be an observer and just be humble with the whole thing and never let them know anything about what was really happening in my life. I knew better than that. So
it went far beyond them not understanding you.
Oh, I know.
They didn't like you and made fun of you and gave you, terms like oddball and you were a little outcast and you didn't get it only because you weren't like them.
I know.
That was the only reason.
See what I learned?
It was beyond them understanding what you had a knowledge of at that point.
Do you see how I was forced to learn some pretty deep stuff at a very young age? That's just one part of it, okay? When you read Guided, you guys, when you read my book Guided, you'll get the whole story here on how it all played out. But it turned to my advantage. It was tough. I call childhood boot camp because it was a tough ride. But because I was paying attention, and I guess I was up for this. I know I was up for this. My guides, being with me so strong, they gave me the extra reinforcement. The extra odds were in my favor because of that, okay? So the friends, they're the friends. They're the friends you come in with when you felt hopeless as a little kid. And there were the times that you knew no one understood and you went into your bedroom and you buried your face in your pillow and cried so nobody could hear you because you knew you wouldn't get what you needed from that. If they did hear you, you knew that it wasn't going to result in what it was that needed attention in you, okay? So it wasn't like a cry for help outside because you inside knew that they didn't know either. They didn't know. But that's something your guides know. That's something when you go through something like that, it's an opening of your heart. And when you open your heart, they're right there, okay? They love you. They're right there. That's the energy that you use to make this connection. It's truth and love that this connection comes from. And when you let yourself be that vulnerable, it's all right there. You don't have to go looking for it, wondering where it's at. You just have to be tender with yourself and let yourself explore in that. Listen. Pay attention. Those are your friends. Those are your real friends, okay? They're with you all the time.
Okay, so let's tie this all into the journal. You come in with these friends. You leave this family behind. They stay behind. You come here. You incarnate into this life, and you pick the life that you come into. You picked your parents.
Yeah.
You picked everybody that you're going to be associated with in this life. And you realize that you have these friends, these family members that are watching over you. Sometimes you even see them. And you get to preschool, you get into grade school, and people, you're not like the kids. Quite an odd child. And
I don't look odd, do
you're
I?
different. You're just different, okay? So everybody doesn't meet them that early, physically. You know, like people say to you, well, you had a big advantage because you had them with you from the beginning. Well,
It alienated me from the people in this world.
right.
That was the price I paid. Imagine that. Imagine that.
So
So I didn't have it so easy, but I did. You know?
I think all children have some semblance of invisible friends. I mean, I don't. I did when I was little. I didn't know who they were. They didn't appear to me. But every child has invisible friends that they talk to, because they're talking to themselves, but they're not talking to themselves.
Right.
You know, okay. Eventually, parents, school, and society tell you can't be that way.
That's incorrect behavior.
Right.
Unacceptable.
Right. That's not true. There's no such thing as invisible friends.
Get out of your dream world. Wake up.
Quit daydreaming.
Right.
Etc. Okay, so now.
Now we moved out. We moved away from the friends here.
Right. So.
You're jumping into school, and we're not there
I
yet.
know yet, but I want you to tell people who don't know about the journal how this journal helps them go back and make that connection again with your guides, with your original friends,
Your real friends.
and how it allows them to see where they got knocked off course. Because once they got knocked off course, and whatever they took personally and allowed to mold them and influence their decision making at a young age, it influenced all your decisions the rest of your life. So how is this journal going to help them?
Okay. Well, you could see that in the last video we did on this. I mean, we talked about it there. But Ray's trying to come up with the short of this, okay, and how this ties together. Friends, what you want to do in each one of these, on these pages, that we're on part 2, page 3. We want you to, in order to really absorb what's going on here, and get in there and talk about what happened at that time in your life, go to the Linda Deir website. And at the top, where it says blog, across the top are the navigation bars. Click on blog. And when you get on the blog page, on the right side, you want to click on My Guided Journey under categories. Because in that, you're going to find on each one of these pages, we're on page 3, part 2. You're going to see for each one of these pages in part 2 that Ray and I did a video where he questioned me and interviewed me, and I had an introduction where I wrote out really well thought out way for you guys to start, okay, to be able to begin to write in here from the right frame of mind, all right? Because if you go in and you start writing what happened in your life, this is what this is all about here, you guys. Until you go back and visit that, you can't figure out how to move forward and really be living the life you intended. Not some shadow of your life, but your life, okay? The one you came here to live, all right? When you write in here, when you watch the video first for page 3, and the image will match the video, so you can't miss it. And you watch it, you will no longer be coming from emotional energy. You won't be coming from being a victim. You won't be coming from the drama and the trauma of this life and all the confusion, okay? You'll be coming from your knowingness and from your truth. Between the two of these, they're going to come together, and that's going to be the energy you use when observing what happened, that you use to write in here. Because again, it goes back to the early part of this video where I talked about what did I do in that hopeless childhood when I was really young? I learned to observe. I had no other place to go. And that's what you need to do. You need to go in there and see this traumatic situation, this drama, this trauma, all this stuff going on, the family dynamics, the karma, the blah, blah, blah. You need to use the knowingness and the truth to describe it. That's how you're going to remember your friends. That's how it's going to happen. It's going to happen piece by piece. By the time you're done and you finish page 18, the pieces will all be there. And some of it will be great. Some of it you will have loved writing about. Some of it you won't like writing about, but you need to do it. You need to, what did you say? You need to feel it
Before you can heal it.
Before you can heal it. And you only have to feel it once, you guys, because when you watch that video, and you come from this more intelligent part of yourself, as you observe what you went through and document it into your journal after you watch the video, you guys can't miss.
That's a big difference between like a diary and a journal. A diary is just something you write, what'd you do that day? What happened that day?
That's right.
Okay, and you go from day to day. But in the journal, you write about how you felt, about what happened.
Right. It's not about the emotional part that got sucked into this life, but the intelligent knowing and feeling. Feelings are your truth. And this is your truth center. When you feel it here, it's spot on. Okay? You want to use this more. When you're done writing in here, you guys, and you get this all done, you're going to appreciate what you have mastered in doing that. And you're going to start seeing your life as an observer more. You're going to think before you jump in. You're going to give yourself that moment.
Okay, so people get molded about the time they're 3, 4, 5 by their parents, and then by school, and then by society, and then by they get a job and they're out in the world. By the time they're in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s, they realize something's wrong. Something is missing in their life. Somewhere they got off track. They're going, this can't be all there is. There's got to be something better.
Right.
I had all these hopes and dreams when I was younger. So taking this journal and going, say, backwards in the journal, from page 18 back, if you have trouble going forward,
right,
you could go backwards.
Okay, so Ray, what Ray's talking about,
I did.
Yeah, Ray did he took the journey, and you'll see one of the videos in my guided journey is Ray takes the journey. You probably want to take a look at that just to see what he's talking about, because what Ray did when he took the journey, he flipped the pages and he said, "No, I'm not getting the feeling," And he flipped the page and he kept going and going. He got to page 14,
right,
and that's when he started to write and do his journal writing, to write his journey down on page 14. Then page 15, 16, 17, 18, and then when he finished those 5 pages, he went back to page 1 and he could remember. So it's stuff like that whatever works. There's no rules, all right? But the only rule is you've got to go to part 2 and work this out. You need to go in there and document all those times in your life. Watch the associated video before you do it, so you get yourself in the right mindset, coming from the right perspective, and you start to see this for what it was, not for the little kid that was terrified or delusional, okay, or whatever it happened to be. You made something into something that didn't exist. You made stuff up. That's not helping you. That's keeping you stuck in la la land. You're not getting anywhere with that. You've got to step out of it. Go back to the intelligent part of you, the you who first came here, the knowingness, the feeling, okay, as you observe that child or that teenager or that young adult. And that's how you're going to get this, you guys. What do we have on the feed, right?
Well, Christy joined us. Hi, Christy.
Hi, Christy. Glad to have you.
Let's see here. This helps to know I can move from page to page and not be held up at that point.
Right.
Yeah, there's no set rules. Like I went to page 14 before I could really start writing down how I felt
Now,
at that point in my life.
Right. I'm going to say something for Ray, okay? Because he had me to help him with this, you guys.
I had the master here helping me.
Okay, so Ray went through the pages and he goes, I'm not getting it. And I go, well, just keep moving through it, Ray. And he kept moving through it. And finally, the part he could start writing in, he said to me, he goes, this was a great time in my life, okay? And that's why he wanted to start there. That's where, when he went back to the first page, page 1, fear.
I kind of reversed myself. I went from page 14, where I said, that was a great time in my life.
Right.
And then I went to 15, 16, 17, and 18 to the end.
Right.
And then I went back to 14, and I said, well, this was such a great time in my life. What was going on right before that? And I went to page 13. And then I went to page 12. And I went to
Is that
page
what you
11.
did?
Yeah, 11. And I went backwards
To
page,
what?
to page 1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Until I
Okay.
found out that spot, those couple spots that affected my whole life.
To see why he felt the way he did at certain phases in his life.
The false beliefs that
The
I
false
picked
beliefs.
up.
Right, and let me just say this one thing, because this is really, I observed him, right? So I can say this. When he got to 14 and he started, wham, he just started writing, and he felt good about it. It turned out that when he went back to the first page, where you have to explain your first fear, he realized his first fear, he had overcome it by the time that 14th page in this journal showed up. And that's why it was easy for him to write, and he was so excited about it. He was free from that fear, all right, on page 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and into his life.
At page 14, I was 40 years old. And that fear had followed me around ever since I was a little kid.
I know.
And I saw how it affected all my decisions.
I know. And then when he did this and went back to the beginning, it was absolutely black and white, obvious, clear as a bell.
Right.
How you got thrown off course. So Ray, if you had the choice, now that you know what you know,
Right.
and learned what you learned, I mean, wouldn't you have just done, if you knew this existed, you would have done this work and just got through it and recognized it and knew what was holding you up? And you would.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have had an advantage?
Yeah, but there's never anything like this. I mean, there's been diaries and books people call a journal, where people just journal what they're doing.
I know this is way advanced.
But if what you're doing, if you're stuck in what you're doing, you want to stop doing what you're doing, but you can't. You have obligations, you have routines, you have habits, and how did you get into those habits and those routines in your life and back yourself up to see when they started, what decisions did you make to start that path, and then you back up some more, what decisions did you make to go here. I mean, there was a point in your life when you used to be fit and you ate right, and pretty soon you had a choice coming home from work. You could turn left and go to the gym, or you could turn right and go to happy hour with the boys. And if you start doing this one more than you're doing this one, and you create a habit going this direction, that's where your life goes. That doesn't become a habit. After it becomes a habit, it becomes your destiny.
Yeah, but the point is if you knew this information 40 years old, 20 years earlier, and you could have seen it, do you think you could have forged through your shortcomings, knowing what you knew, what you understood after you did this?
I want to say yes, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, see, that it is hard to say. Now, since Ray, this is interesting too. Since Ray took the journey, okay, it's called Ray Takes the Journey on My Guided Journey videos on the blog page, okay? When Ray did that, a number of things have happened since then. And I mean, really interesting things, you guys. The guides want Ray to get it.
Wake up.
And they're on him, and they won't leave him alone. I mean, I won't go into the details of
Don't
it.
tell them the details.
No, it gets too long, Ray. We've got to finish this up. We only have 5 minutes left. But you can see some of the little tidbits of it in the other videos we did, like 2 weeks ago when we were live here. You'll see it. You'll see it right there on the blog page underneath My Guided Journey as we're moving through these videos. And it's just interesting. Once you start this, I will tell you that once you do this work, you guys, your life will change, okay? Your guides have been waiting for you to be ready, and they're so excited that they got your attention and that you're ready to do this, okay? You're ready to step into, some of it's going to be ugly, okay? It's going to be ugly, but you only have to do this ugly thing one more time, and once you write it in here and you've got it on paper and it's proof and it's documented, and I want you to know that when you wrote it in here, your guides were with you the whole time. They were with you when you went through it. So you write in there like they were there because they were, okay? That's how you think about this. When you felt desperately lonely and really without hope, they were there.
I think the journal, I think the book Guided changes your life.
It does.
Excuse me. The journal more or less restores your life to where it was before you got off track.
Right. That's exactly right. And I was guided. I was guided, okay, to write this book because of you guys. Because of all the questions I got from you guys. All right. Guided, by the way, has over 1,000 reviews between Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. It's available on all those platforms in Kindle, paperback, and audiobook format. And I read the audiobook myself. So
I love to listen to your voice. I hear it all day, and I still love to listen to that audiobook.
So it's it's available in all those formats, and it's a good start. If you get guided, what'll happen is it'll start to wake some things up. There's 137 tips, learnings, lessons, and awarenesses in Guided that just trigger the readers, okay, and the listeners of Guided. So
and those all came directly from your guides.
They did, yep.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was done writing my book, Guided, okay, when I was done writing it, I said to Ray, I go, I'm done writing Guided, I'm done, okay? Because it took me 4.5 months. It was a very, it's not a small book, right? Okay, so when I was done writing it, they would wake me up, the guides would wake me up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they told me on my computer screen, they said, start from the beginning, and we'll stop you where we want to drop in a tip, a learning, a lesson, an awareness, okay? So I was basically taking dictation. I just moved through it and boom, and I felt it. And so they'd keep me up from like 1 o'clock until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning for a couple of weeks as these rolled out. And I just sat back and I just went, wow, I mean, they were, this book means a lot to the guides because they know it's a way to reach you guys. It's a way that you guys are going to recognize this for yourself. It's my story. I guess someone had to tell the story, right? But it's going to trigger you. It's a book of triggers. It will wake you up. It will get you there so that when you start to use this, you're so ready. You're just there.
It became not just your story, but when they put all of those lessons and learnings in there, it became like a spiritual roadmap because they knew exactly where to put them, number one,
Yeah.
and they knew exactly what to say at that point in the story. I mean, that's what's amazing to me.
Well, because they were with me, right? I mean, they were right there. I have an incredible memory that goes along with all this. But when you have your guides, this is your friends. And when you have them with you, you guys, when you bring this back together, when this connection is rebuilt and your rapport with your guides is reestablished, your life will never be the same. I mean, in the most positive way. you're never going to feel alone again, because you're not. You're always going to know that tinge, that gut feeling, that nudge, that inspiration, that dream, that time you were in the shower, and oh my God, that was the greatest idea. It would have been so, we would think in this world, just being in this world, that came from you. If you get that, that's your ego jumping in there, taking the credit for it, all right? So just remember that, be humble. Write these things down in your journal. On a day-to-day basis, part 3, you keep your journal going as you're writing out your journey in part 2, okay? But write down what's going on in your life, date it. It's got everything there you need. You're going to need to print out a lot of pages in part 3, so you've got room to write these things down and keep your story going about how you are being guided, okay? That's what this is.
Just a side note, a lot of you have, Linda sells a lot more audiobooks than paperbacks or Kindles, but there's one thing that you don't get when you listen to the audiobook. You don't get all the photographs, the amazing photographs that are in the book.
Yeah.
And
but you do get them on the Kindle.
You do get them on the Kindle.
Yeah.
But also, if you have the Kindle and you haven't heard the audiobook, you can get a significant savings on the audiobook. If you bought the Kindle or the paperback, you can go back and you can buy the audiobook for $1.99, I think it is, rather than $20.
That's a huge savings. Yeah.
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 So if you haven't, people tell us all the time, I've read guided 2 times, 3 times, 4 times.
Or listen to it.
Or listen to it over and over again. Yeah. But if you learn something new every time you go back.
We have people who sleep with it, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Because they know that connection, they're determined to make that connection. Ray, you know the little books?
Little books?
Yeah, no. Yeah, just the little books.
The little books.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one.
Okay.
Here's the first one.
We call these, Ray and I, you hold that one. We call these the little books. Because after I wrote Guided, almost immediately after I wrote Guided, like within 9 months or so, right? I wrote this one, which is How to Live a Guided Life, First Steps. And this one here is How to Live a Guided Life, Meeting the Real You. And they're turn it sideways so they can see. These are like 1 hour audiobooks. They're short
about 100
reads.
pages.
Yeah, sure, yeah. And
these kind of grew out of the 137 lessons
they
in
did.
Guided.
They did, right?
People loved the lessons in there
Right.
and they wanted more of it. So these are
He's right.
all channeled information from Linda's guides. And it's a couple of paragraphs on each of the sections of each of the topics. And 2 or 3 paragraphs from her guides. And then a paragraph by Linda on how it works.
Right. All my pages are falling out. These are my working copies I work with, so pardon us, you guys.
Now these are a little different because people use them differently. Some of them listen to them because they drive a lot, but a lot of people buy the little books so they can read 1 or 2 of the lessons a day and write in the book, make notes, how it affected them.
Yeah.
And we've had people show us these books that they're all dog-eared and they have coffee spilled all over them and they have all kinds of notes on all the pages. So these might be a good little textbook to...
These are really nice books. Another thing that these books are is if you have kids, these books, Guided's a heavy-duty book, and kids could definitely learn from it. But these are palatable because they're short little reads, okay? And your kids can start reading these where, when I say kids, I'm probably talking about 9, 10, 11, 12, up in that area and older, where they can read them and go, very good, where they just can talk with you about it, where they can express themselves so they can start figuring out these things that mean so much as a foundation for their life, all right? What do we have there, Ray?
Lori said she got the paperback and the Kindle version. She gave away the paperback. I would get the audiobook to hear your voice, but the childhood part is painful for me to relive. I don't know how you got through it and turned out to be a good and loving person.
You know what, Lori? There's nothing left. I mean, what I saw and what I experienced was just so, it was so hopeless that I just couldn't sign up for that. I didn't come here to do that. And I couldn't buy it. I never bought in to their theories about this life, you know? So the way that I've lived my life, I actually did prove their theories wrong without even trying. And what it did is it made them attack me even more. Do you see what I mean? There's always consequences, and it's okay, all right? I just have a huge distance from all of them, and I will keep it that way, you know? Do we have anything else, Ray?
Yeah, I would just have a comment.
Yeah.
And, you know, as harrowing and disturbing as the first part of the book can be, my favorite part is part 4, where she meets me and we get married and she lives happily ever after.
Isn't he the best?
Part 4, reread that part there.
We had the best wedding. We have a wonderful life, you guys.
When will we be back here? Would it be 1 week from today?
Yeah, 1 week from today, we're going to be right back here. And you guys, please, don't be shy about your questions. Feel free to, even if you have to email me, because maybe you feel a little shy about talking here in the stream. We have stuff pop up?
Yeah, see, the questions pop up over there. I can't see those over there all the time.
Yeah. Be sure to do that, because that's why we're here. If you have questions about guided, and like what Lori just talked about, and I took a moment to explain how I felt there was just no other way. I mean, I can't accept a world that's that cruel. I can't. I just can't live like that. And I know that other people have been hurt and suffered, and I've always been an advocate of the underdog. I can't stand to see it. So it just lets you know what your calling is. Okay, like Lori, you feel this? You have something that you've been through that you really identify with this, so that you are being primed, you are being groomed, you are being called into service in some form that you just may not know what it is yet. Let yourself keep searching. This is the one thing the guides always talk about. They always talk about the person who's wandering and searching. All right? Just trust that road you're on. Trust that energy, that urge that pulls you that way. Just let it be. Trust it and follow it. And see the magic that shows up in your life, because it will be, okay? It will be magical.
That's right. So 1 week from today, that's December the 7th. Same time, 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock
And what is
Eastern.
on the agenda for next week, Ray?
What is page 4?
Did you write it down?
No, page 4.
You didn't write it down.
I'm sorry, I didn't do my homework.
You didn't
I can
write it
find
down.
it, though.
See, that's part of his work. He's got to do that. Sort of. See that.
And I will have some very intelligent questions for you, I'm sure, by then.
You're getting closer.
I should have this memorized.
You're looking for number 4, Ray.
Number 4. Oh, I like this one though. Can't we just jump to 5?
No.
Oh, our relationship grows.
Okay, so it's how it developed when you were a child. It's how it really started to roll out, and it had a life of its own. You couldn't even stop it. Okay, and even if you could have stopped it, you weren't going to do it. It would be like having your first puppy. Okay, and somebody telling you in the family, you can't have that anymore. Excuse me, I can't have that anymore. That's not going to work. That would not work. Okay, so it's not something that somebody tells you to give up, and you can't have that anymore. It's who you are. How do you tell somebody not to be who they are, right? That's why it's such an offensive feeling.
I never had a puppy.
Well, you tried to have one.
I did. I had little turtles and a white mouse.
Oh, God. At least he had someone to love you guys.
Just had somebody to talk to.
Someone to take care
play
of.
catch with.
Okay, you guys, bring your questions next week.